Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Writers Toolshed. It's just Richie here today, but I do have a guest in the Toolshed with me. It's none other than Chris Herron from Tall Tale TV. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you? How's coronavirus life treating you?
I'm still alive, so can't complain.
Yeah, I think that's the standard for everyone now. I'm still alive, still breathing, not coughing yet. I always think what it must have been like in I study a lot of like medieval stuff and reading about the Black Death recently, and one of the symptoms for the Black Death was getting like a pain and like lumps, like you've got these nodes underneath your arms. So if you start getting a pain there, and apparently it means you've got it like dead on. So that you just knew you were gonna get it, and that was the first symptom. And there were like no. There's nothing you could do. Yeah, you're just gonna die. It's horrible.
Scary.
I know.
I can't imagine. Well,
I
I can
know.
kind of imagine now, but
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Everything seems to be well where I am anyway. Everyone's just got fed up with it and just thought, let's go back to normal now. We'll see
yeah.
what happens.
Yeah,
What's it
US
like
just
for you?
stayed that way.
Doesn't help when you've got someone like Trump in charge who just doesn't really care.
Oh God, yeah.
I know. Anyway, we can forget about all that. I don't know if you
Okay.
saw about this story recently. It kicked off a lot over here because I think it was a British author, a guy called Mark Dawson, who he was like, I think he was 13th in the Sunday Times bestseller list, which was like sort of the equivalent of the New York Times bestseller list. He wanted to get in the top 10 because if you can say on your book that you're a top 10 bestseller, it's like a marketing thing, and like you automatically get so many more sales. So he was desperate to get in the top 10. So what he did, he went to like a local bookstore and put an order in for 400 copies so that he'd get in the top 10.
Okay.
So like he came out and he was saying like, this is what I did, but I'd gotten like order requests from fans in the US, but they were only like expressions of interest. There was like no financial transactions to confirm, like, and the publisher was like sticking by him and saying, "Oh no, this is what happened." But loads of people were like, "Oh, this is just ridiculous. It's just not fair." Because if you've got more money, you can just do that and get to the top of the lists. Like he spent like nearly £4,000 on his books.
Yeah, they do that all the time with political books over here. It's like if somebody who's rich wants to get their book on the top, the New York Times bestseller list, they'll just buy 1 million copies or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Imagine,
Apparently, it's not that expensive. Only takes, I think, a couple $100,000 is what I read. But yeah,
really?
it's common practice, I guess.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that common. I just thought there
Yeah,
was like rules at least to stop, because I think there's ways they can track like bulk purchasing, so they
yeah,
know if people are doing it deliberately. But
yeah. Usually, it drops off of the top sellers list after the first week. That's when they tend to know that something fishy's going on. But
yeah, I know, but it's just caused a proper stink. What do you think about it all? Do you reckon it should be outlawed or?
oh, I think books should stand on their own. I don't think it should be you can game the system at all. I think it's a little crooked to be able to do something like that. If you've got more money, that shouldn't put you ahead of somebody who's a better writer.
Yeah, it's just not fair, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chris, tell us a bit about yourself then. Like I know you from Tall Tale TV, and if you've never heard of Tall Tale TV, it's an audiobook platform, which started on YouTube. I think you've moved over to other platforms now as well, haven't
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Sorry, I thought I had my phone on silent there.
you?
Started on YouTube, basically just narrating short stories for people. Um, a bit of a long story behind that, but yeah, I eventually moved over to podcast, and now I'm also putting stuff onto like Facebook and stuff. I narrate 2 to 3 stories a week from authors that just submit their stories to me. I'm hoping to grow it into something a little bit more complex in the next couple of years, but we'll see how that goes.
Well, sounds interesting.
But
Can you
yeah,
share any
it's
details?
uh, do you want backstory or what kind of details?
Yeah, well, bit of how you got into it as well, but that's what you've got planned as well. Sounds quite interesting as well. So
Sure. So the way that I got into it is ever since I was a kid, I've loved reading. I've read
yeah,
full-length novels for my second grade reports and stuff like that. But then in 2015, my type 1 diabetes kind of caught up with me, and I went blind in both eyes legally. I had
oh,
blood vessels burst in them, and so I
nightmare.
couldn't read or write anymore, which were my two biggest passions. And so my wife got kind of tired of me, just lazing around the house being depressed. And she took me into the library and we picked up a bunch of audiobooks.
Oh,
And I got a
nice.
bunch of the Terry Pratchett novels, which I loved reading. Terry
Yeah,
Pratchett's one of my favorite writers. And the narrators were, I want to say, Stephen Briggs and Nigel Planer.
yeah,
And so I sat there listening to those for a couple of months, and they were just so amazing. It's like they brought a whole new level to these books that I had loved and, thought
yeah,
that I enjoyed them to their fullest. And by the time I came out the other side, it was kind of like, this is what I want to do.
yeah,
It's like I want to be able to do what they did. And luckily with the retinopathy, they've got treatments now. So I did get better. I can see 20/20 now with,
great.
really thick glasses, but whatever.
Uh,
I'm not blind
I
like
wear
it would have been
glasses.
20 years ago. But yeah, I came out, wanted to be a narrator. But I knew that I wasn't ready to do full length novels or anything. So I decided to kind of do a side project of some sort.
Yeah,
And I had actually, before all this happened, been working with a friend on a project that fell through, unfortunately, called Tall Tale TV, which
yeah,
was going to be kind of like the Fantasy Writers Toolshed, where I'd go and give advice on writing and, different things like that, because that's what me and my friends were all into.
yeah,
And so I decided to take that, channel that we had purchased, or not purchased, but reserved the title to, and I turned it into just a audiobook short story blog, basically. And anybody could send in their stories, and I'd pick the ones that I liked the best and read them out loud. So
it's
that's where that
awesome,
all
man.
came from.
That's an incredible story. It's amazing that you just the connection that you've got with audiobooks and like got you through such a tough time.
Yeah, they mean a lot to me. So it's like this is definitely, a passion project. I don't make any money at it,
Yeah,
but I couldn't imagine not doing it. I love it so much.
and that really comes through. I think when you listen to your episodes, like you're so passionate about it, and like when you've narrated some of my stories as well, you've completely changed the story because you just brought it to life, and it's because of like how passionate you are that you get so
Well, thank you.
invested in it, like, and that's what makes them so brilliant. And what I think I've loved, I think when I first, what was the first, was it Forgotten? I think the first story that you narrated of mine. I
Um,
think, yeah, it was probably
Ducks.
what, Ducks. Yeah, it was Ducks.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, I love that story. That was such a good story.
A very short one. But yeah, so I think that was about 3 years ago now, was it?
Yeah, that
Or
was
was it 2 years?
2017.
Yeah.
It was like mid or late 2017. It was
Yeah.
right before I met Justin, actually.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
Convenience.
because I met Justin in December. He sent in a story, When Ants Tell a Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was when I found out that you two were doing this project together, it's like, did they tell each other to, I don't know. It kind of blew my mind. I thought it was so cool that two of the authors I worked with were doing this podcast.
Yeah.
I
It's
love it.
yeah, so I think that was 3 years ago now. And like when I first came across you, I think I don't know how long you've been going then, but you were definitely growing at that stage, and now it's grown to like great levels, hasn't it? And it just seems to be getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that you met me in the first year. I started in I want to say March of 2017. And I had a couple hundred followers at that time because I actually got featured in an IO9 article, which I've
Nice.
never actually followed IO9 or Gizmodo, but it's like somebody found me on Reddit and wanted to do a little article, and I got like 300 subs from that. And
Oh,
it's like, other
nice.
than that, I gained about 50 that year by myself. But now at this point, between all my platforms, I'm actually approaching almost 3,000 subscribers, and it's
Nice.
growing by probably about 7 subscribers a day at this point.
That's
So
brilliant.
it's ramping up pretty quick. I'm hoping to keep on that exponential curve.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? But like when it
Yeah.
seems once you hit the sort of organic point where everything's just growing naturally,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's what you want, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I'm hoping
Yeah.
to do some SEO on my website to help push it some more and, get to the point where I can start monetizing the channel so that I can start paying, the authors for their stories. Because that's what I've always wanted to do. And that's my plans for the future is I want to pay authors for their work. It's like right now I'm doing it basically. I'll give you a really cool, video and then, narrate your audiobook, but I can't pay you anything. But that's because I'm not making any money at all. It's like, even though YouTube is technically monetized, I haven't gotten a single paycheck from them yet because you have to make $100 before they'll give you anything. And so
Oh,
it's like I've worked up maybe $50 that they will eventually give me. All of that money is going to go straight to the authors. And so
yeah,
I'm almost to the point where I can monetize the podcast itself. And that's where I can start getting income, on a more substantial level. Even if it's only, $10, $15 at first, I want to pay the authors something and then, get up to the point where eventually I get, to a semi-pro or pro level where it's like 5 cents a word kind of thing. It's like,
yeah.
I would love to do that. That's my dream.
Well, you're on the way there, so keep going. I'll keep doing things like this. Don't hurt as well, like getting the word out to new followers, and so
Exactly. And I love hanging out with people I know. So
yeah. So what do you think it is about like the lore of audiobooks? I mean, you've noticed like your channel's grown quite significantly in a short space of time, and a lot of more people are listening to audiobooks and podcasts. Like, what do you think is so special about it?
sure. The lure of audiobooks, I think a big part of it, it's kind of twofold. One is technology, obviously, where it's, the high-speed internet has allowed the price to come down. There's more books available, everything like that. It's like people don't remember, but 20 years ago, an audiobook would cost you $60 for one of the I remember my dad bought one of the Harry Potter audiobooks, and it was $60 for the CD set. It's
Yeah,
like, that's insane. It's like now
yeah,
you can get them off of Audible for $11 a credit or something like that. It's so much
yeah,
more affordable. So I think that's one of the reasons. But the other big one I think is our modern lifestyle.
yeah,
Nobody really has time to just sit down and read anymore. Where an audiobook, you can play it in your car or you can put it on your smart speaker while you're doing the dishes or something like that. It's like
yeah,
while I'm cooking, it's like I cook dinners. And so it's like, 45 minutes I'm sitting there in front of the stove. I'll just put it on an audiobook and listen to it. So I think it's just, the only time I have to really actually sit down and read is right before bed. And I
yeah.
fall asleep so quick, I haven't made it through a single novel, physically this year.
That's a great point you make there. I mean, I'm struggling to find time to read these days, even with lockdown. Though, to be fair, I didn't get any time off work, but I just haven't, and it's really getting to me. Like, I don't have that much time to read, and maybe audiobooks is the solution. But
Yeah, everybody's working two jobs, and we're all stressed. And so I think the biggest lure is definitely the modern lifestyle, which is horrible, that it's
yeah,
come to the point where we don't have time to read. But I do think audiobooks for a lot of people, myself especially, are kind of filling that, area of your life that you want to consume books rather than TV. It's like I watch TV, but I try to limit myself because I know it's not giving me any sort of benefit. Where
yeah.
audiobooks have actually scientifically been proven that if you have a second grade reading level, you get the same cognitive benefits as reading.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, it's like, okay, it's good for my brain and I get to enjoy a story that I really love.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
awesome.
love audiobooks.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I suppose it's if that's the case, and like there's a growing like change in society that people are just finding less time to read, and so they're just not going to do it. But they are more willing to listen to something while you say cooking. Then for writers, I think that it always becomes necessary to consider making your books, your audiobooks as well.
Right. And there's actually a lot of data that's showing that the industry is kind of headed in that direction. For instance, last year, audiobooks actually outsold ebooks. Not by
Really?
much. And I mean, audiobooks cost a little bit more than an ebook, so ebooks probably sold more copies. But it was
Yeah,
like audiobooks, I think, had $1.2 billion worth of sales, and ebooks was like 980 million. So
that's
it's like
amazing.
they are, growing every year while ebooks are kind of declining. And I'm trying to remember these. I think I might have them written down somewhere. Oh, yeah. So last year, 25% of adults purchased an ebook. and 20% of adults also purchased audiobooks. And
Yeah.
again, ebook sales are declining, audiobook sales are increasing. So it's like we're almost to that crossing point where audiobooks are actually going to be more popular than ebooks. So
Yeah.
whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I love both of them so much. It's like I don't want either to fail. But
Yeah.
yeah, audiobooks are definitely starting to take a chunk out of the market.
It's so fascinating seeing these trends. And like you say, we're at a crucial point now where audiobooks and ebooks are about even. So as a writer, this would be a good time to sort of ride the wave of
Yeah.
audiobooks and get in there.
Yeah, audiobooks are just entering their golden age, and it's still, kind of a small pond when you consider how many audiobooks there are versus how many ebooks there are. There's countless ebooks. It's really hard to stand out. Where with audiobooks, it's still it's getting bigger really quick, but you're going to have a better chance of standing out in that smaller pond. There's fewer competition, or less competition in that area. So yeah, there's reasons to go for it, but it is cost preventative unless you go and do it yourself, which there's ways to do that and everything so it's kind of a give and take right now, but yeah, if you can do it, it's definitely worth it in my opinion.
Yeah. And what you talk about there about like the different options about going about it, what do you know about that? What can you share?
Sure. So like ACX is the big one. And then I think there's also something called Findaway Voices. No. What is it? It's like, yeah, Findaway Voices. Findawayvoices.com is kind of the biggest competitor to ACX that I know of.
Yeah.
And both of them are kind of the same deal where you go online as the author and you either put up your audition and let people audition for it and then kind of see which ones you like, or you can actually go to all these different narrators little splash page,
Yeah.
listen to their uh
Narrations,
my
yeah.
brain just died. They've got like samples and stuff like that, demo
Yeah.
reels and whatever. See who you like, talk to them, see what their prices are, everything like that. They've got different ways of paying for audiobooks. So you've got like royalty share, a straight up charge, per finished hour, all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff like that. So it can get a little bit intense as far as, navigating it all, but there are options depending on your financial situation. Obviously, the more money you have, the better narrator you're going to be able to get.
Yeah.
But even if you don't have any money, you might be able to find somebody willing to do it for royalty share, where it's like you and the narrator then split all the royalties. Um,
It's
if
a
you go
good
that
option.
route, if you go that route, you're much better off if you have a good Amazon ranking. If you
Yeah.
don't have a good Amazon ranking, it's going to be hard for you to find somebody willing to do that.
Yeah.
Because making an audiobook is a lot of work. They say that you can consider it a 6-to-1 ratio. For every 1 hour of finished audio, it probably took the narrator about 6 hours to make that.
Yeah.
So that's why the prices
It's
are so high. It's like you can spend a couple grand getting an audiobook made.
really.
Several $1,000s is not uncommon at all.
Yeah.
So for somebody to take a complete risk and do it for free just on the promise that you're going to get paid back in the future from the sales, there'd have to be an awful lot of sales. And if there's no data in Amazon saying that this book is going to sell well, you're going to have a much harder time finding somebody.
Yeah. That makes total
Having said
sense.
that, you can find narrators willing to do it for cheaper. Obviously, the more expensive they are, you kind of pay for what you get. But there's people who are just jumping into the industry, charging $50 per finished hour, where kind of the standard rate for a professional narrator would be $150 to $200 per finished hour.
Yeah.
You can also find people willing to do partial royalty share, which is you pay like half the money you normally would have, and you give them a quarter or a fifth of the royalties or something like that. So there's a bunch of different options to try to help you out. Obviously, the cheapest way is to do it yourself,
Yeah.
but then you've got to get all the equipment and you got to learn how to use the programs and everything like that. But there's tons of YouTube videos for anybody wanting to go that route, so
Oh,
it's
that's good.
doable.
Yeah. Like I say, it's if you learn a new skill doing it and you start enjoying it, then you can start making money off recording other people's ones as well.
Exactly, that's what I did, kind of.
Yeah. Do you use that website yourself?
I have done a little bit of work on ACX. I did one audiobook, and then I was working on another project that fell through, and I have a third one coming up the end of this year. But I've been focusing most of my efforts into Tall Tale TV. That's where my real passion is, because I love working with, just random authors from around the world. If I do an audiobook, I'm going to be spending a month working with one author. Where
Yeah,
on my channel, I get to work with, 7 authors a month, or, something like that. It's a lot more fun for me to do the podcast.
yeah. And you
I
mentioned
might make
before, sorry, go on.
oh, I was going to say I might make more time in the future, but it's like right now I'm just focusing on the podcast.
Yeah, it's good to invest all your efforts in one thing. Like sometimes when you stretch yourself over like doing a few different projects, then everything suffers because you're not giving it the attention it needs.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, and you mentioned earlier about some of the changes or the new features you've got plans for Tall Tale TV. What have you anything you'd like to share?
Oh, right. So the big one was what I mentioned earlier with the author compensation. It's
Yeah.
like, paying people, either a set or a flexed rate for their work. But I'm working with potentially another person who's going to help me out with some of the aspects of the channel, like the back end, trying to get everything done. Right now, I've been doing everything myself, and it's like a 40-hour a week job.
Oh my God.
So but it's a labor of love. But if I
Yeah.
can get somebody else on there, I will be able to more reliably open up my third slot a week, possibly even a fourth. I would love to do that, but I don't know how quickly I'll get to that point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's mostly just things like that. I'm also making different ways to help promote authors that I work with. I'm working with a couple different ways to give them one more kind of tool to help promote their own sales beyond just what I've done for them. We'll again see if that comes through or not. That one's kind of in the beta stage right now.
It sounds interesting. Any
Yeah,
way you can help promote yourself is massive at the moment.
exactly. Yeah, and that was one of the big reasons that I went with Tall Tale TV rather than just going straight into ACX. Is all my friends were writers, and it's like, what can I do to help them at the same time?
Okay.
So yeah, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah,
I'm hoping.
definitely. So had a little go of making an audiobook myself. I've mentioned to you before.
Hmm.
I couldn't do it alone. Obviously, I took me a while to get a good, decent recording of myself reading it. But
Oh, you're
my
the narrator.
yeah, I narrated it. Yeah, but my little brother, he's a whiz. He's like an audio engineer, so he knows how to do all these
Oh,
like effects and stuff like that. So Chris hasn't heard this before, and I'm gonna play it for you now on this episode. It's about 5-6 minutes, and it's the first chapter of my upcoming novel, Pariah's Lament. So here we go. Hasn't heard it, so we'll have a little chat after it's finished. And yeah, here's chapter 1 of Pariah's Lament. The sound of Edvar's hurried steps echoed along the cobbled street. Whitewashed shutters covered the windows of hunched stone houses, the candles inside long extinguished. From an inn drifted a buzz of chatter and jingle of flutes and harps, and, like moths seeking a flame, a handful of people stumbled toward the commotion. Edvar left them in his wake. Wheezes of a kind he'd never heard before rattled in his burning chest. Despite the cool ocean breeze that brought with it the smell of salt and seaweed, sweat ran down the side of his face and into his patchy beard. His jerkin and breeches clung to his skin. He would have to ease off the pipe, go on a few more walks, or God forbid, start drilling with weapons again. A shed-like carriage turned onto the street ahead, pulled by a team of chestnut rounties. Edvar willed further haste into his legs and caught up to it, hopping onto the rear platform. He sucked in air, steadying his breathing, while the wheels rolled over the loose stones. Much of his life had been spent with his nose dipped in books. Now he regretted it. Over the slate roofs loomed the parapets of the first of the keep's 3 walls. The gatehouse torches lit up the teeth of the iron portcullis, transforming it into the gaping mouth of some beast from the depths of the green deep. Edvard jumped down as the carriage veered right, steadying himself with his hands as he hit the ground.
Cheeky bastard,
the teamster called out after him. Edvard ran for the gate, but seeing somebody charge toward them, the 2 guards hefted the spears from their shoulders and crossed them to bar his path.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
called the smaller of the 2, a stubby-nosed man with a thick brown beard.
What's your business?
I passed you a little over an hour ago. Let me through. There's no time for this. Edvard made to move by them. They shoved him back.
We don't remember, and you ain't coming in, so beat it or we'll get stabby.
The keeper's in danger, the guards guffawed.
From who? The kid councillor has a small army guarding him.
I am Councillor Edvard. They laughed again.
Yeah, and I'm Makos the Mighty.
The hurried jangles of the warning bells reverberated from the keep, shattering the quiet like a stone through a library window. Edvard looked up at the iron tower, then at the guards who gaped at him, wide-eyed. Together they scrambled through the gate. Why is that bastard always right? Edvard thought, cursing Mag. Soldiers emerged from doors, pulling on armour, buckling belts and baldricks. Officers yelled orders and led men and women up the motte. How did they get to him? Poison seemed most likely. Always poison. Edvard had interrogated those working in the kitchen and stores to ensure they could be trusted. Guards were stationed day and night at the well and in the wine cellar, and teams checked the food that came into the keep. Had someone betrayed him? Had he missed something? He must have. I'm as useful as a fingerless archer. As he reached the 3rd and final wall, shouting erupted from the battlements. Before Edvard could look up, he took a blow to the head that knocked him to the ground. Hard. Flashing lights dazzled his vision, and more than once darkness closed and ebbed. A loud ringing consumed his hearing. The taste of copper flooded his mouth. With unfocused eyes he saw a figure clad in black getting to their feet, face covered save for their eyes, which looked at him as a starved dog would a chunk of meat. He saw a glimmer of steel in the figure's hand. Edvard pushed himself up onto shaky legs. His attacker swung. Edvard clumsily ducked. He felt a sting in his forearm, but it didn't stop him from charging, shoulder first. They both fell to the ground in a tangle of limbs, and Edvard grabbed at the blade. A fist struck his face. More landed with twice the force, and he felt something crack. He rolled away, blood gushing from his nose. When he forced open his eyes, he found his attacker standing over him. In that fractured state of mind, Edvard thought of one thing alone. He'd failed. His keeper, his father, his people, his country, and above all, himself. What future lay ahead for them? Torment, turmoil, death. He could have prevented it. Should have prevented it. His father had been a fool to place so much trust in him. Perhaps then we're fools both. We have that in common at least. Edvard closed his eyes and awaited his fate. Pain didn't come. His vision took a moment to focus, and when it did, he saw his attacker on the ground, the bolt of a crossbow sticking from the rogue's thigh. Guards swarmed over them, jabbing with the butts of their spears. Edvard sank back, and before his head hit the ground, the clamour around him faded.
That was awesome.
What did you think? You like it?
Oh yeah, that was great.
What you can't see on this audio version is my brother-in-law, Mark Vernal. He's an illustrator, and he's done little sketches of the scenes. So I think there's 6 sketches altogether, and you can see Edvard getting his head battered, kicked in at the end. But yeah, cause I was thinking, like, the way it's going at the moment, audiobooks popularity increasing significantly, and then the way people are just like looking for new ways to absorb information or to find entertainment. This sort of gave me a good idea to sort of combine a few different things. I love music as well, like listening to music when I'm writing or like when I'm watching things as well, like the music makes such a difference to me. So to be able to
Yeah.
introduce a bit of that as well, that really gets me going sometimes. So
Oh, the music was so good. Yeah, this kind of had that audio drama feel, like a radio drama kind of thing. But I think audio drama is the term nowadays they use, where it's got, all the sound effects going on in the background, multiple voices, everything. Oh,
yeah.
it just came together so well.
Oh, nice. Thanks very much. I mean, what do you think audio dramas like? Are they growing in popularity as well? Them kind of things. Can you see that coming into like the likes of fantasy or anything like that?
Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of audio dramas that have been getting a lot of notice. Like one of the ones that I actually picked up and listened to was the Wolverine one from Marvel.
Yeah.
It's like I heard a lot of chatter about that, and I picked it up, and it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. God, it's a good thing I don't talk for a living. But yeah, I listened to it, and it's like all the actors sounded like they were right there next to you. The sound effects and everything. It was just so much fun. But yeah, I've heard a lot of different audio dramas have been getting like awards and stuff in all the little podcast categories. I've
Yeah.
actually gone up against a couple, like in the Parsec Awards.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff out there with it. If you're into that kind of stuff, yeah, I mean, there's different Reddit boards and all sorts of stuff to check out. But yeah, it's the way you did that. Your accent, that's a Scouse accent, right?
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Liverpool,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, just that kind of whispery quality you had as you were doing it. It just it worked so good.
I'm never sure. I'm like really quite a lot of doubt when it comes to reading stuff out. Like I always feel like I'm putting people off. I
Oh.
feel like my voice is quite monotonous sometimes, or it's just, or you can't understand it. It's just the accent is that strong. So,
Right. Your voice might not be that dynamic, but as you were narrating, you were actually putting a little bit of emotion behind what you were saying at points in there. And it's like, even with that kind of the monotony lent itself to that kind of whispery quality, that you were kind
yeah.
of getting there. And it kind of sounded like this maudlin kind of feel to everything. And it really worked. I thought it
Oh,
was
cool.
great.
Thanks, man.
So is there more to that online, or is that like the preview to something you're putting on ACX or what?
Oh, well, it's like I decided to use it as more of a marketing tool. So when the book
Oh,
goes on
okay. So this is
sale,
like a trailer.
yeah, it's like a trailer, yeah, different version of a kind of trailer, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So I'll see how that goes. It's sort of a bit different, sort of a bit interesting for people to. But then you might get a load of people buying the book and then expecting an audiobook version like the rest of the the rest of the novel like that. Which I don't know, I might do that if I get a few £1,000 to spend on ACX, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, the fully audio drama style for a full book. I can't imagine how much work that would be. Oh man.
Yeah.
Just doing voice, with my experience, it takes a long time. I can't imagine how much time your brother spent putting all those effects into there and the music and everything. You
I
guys did a
know.
great job with that.
Yeah, hats off to him to be honest, because he makes my voice sound better as well, and like he puts like accents on like things, and he's I don't know, he does it. He's really good. So you can check out his YouTube channel as well. He's got a few other 3D sounds. Like it's what he does is 3D sound, so he tries to make it as
Oh, okay.
immersive as possible. So when you listen to it with headphones,
Yeah.
it's like surrounding you. If you get me, it's like fully immersive. So
Yeah, I've heard
he's
some of those 3D stories. Those are wild.
yeah. So that's what I
That's
was trying to
cool.
play around with there. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that, everyone. And like I say, Pariah's Lament will be coming out soon, probably early next year. So just if you head over to my website, I forgot what I was going to say then. Website, yeah, www.richiebilling.com. I'll put a link below. You can join my mailing list, and then you'll get. There might be some more of these audio trailers as well, so you can be the first to hear if anything does come out. And Chris, what have you got coming up then? What's going on with Tale TV in the next few months?
In the next few months, pretty much just same thing. I've got a lot of stories coming out. I've got so many submissions. I am so far behind on my
Oh
slush
no.
pile. But like I've got one coming out this Monday. It'll be out by the time this publishes, I'm guessing. But it's called Alfred's Quest, and it's like 6,300 words. You know, it's
Oh,
kind of in
nice.
the same style of what you were doing with your little trailer there, which made me think of it, where it's
Yeah.
kind of the historical fantasy kind of feel at first, you know, thing going
Yeah.
on. But yeah, with the guards and everything in the castle, it should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, just crazy sci-fi and fantasy coming out 2 to 3 times a week as
Yeah.
standard.
And what days do they come out? Is it set days every week, Mondays and
Well, my main days are Monday and Friday, and I
Monday,
really
Friday?
try to stick to that. And I've been trying to add in a Wednesday slot as well. But I had um, uh, salmonella poisoning for a
Oh
full
no.
week a couple weeks ago, and that just destroyed my my plans
Oh, I
for
can
any
imagine.
sort of semblance to keeping a schedule. So it's been a little crazy the last couple weeks, but I'm hoping I'm back on track. So I'll definitely have one this Monday and Friday, maybe Wednesday, and hopefully soon I'll be back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So
Nice.
we'll see
And
how it goes.
how can
Best
we
laid
find you then?
intentions.
How can listeners find you on the web?
Sure. You can find me at talltaletv.com. That's tale, Tale, like, you know, Tall Tales stories.
Yeah.
Or you can find me on YouTube, and I'm also on most podcast platforms, which you can find links to both of those from my website. So if that's easiest, you can just go there.
Yeah.
But
I'll put all the
yeah,
links in the bottom as well, so you won't have to go far. You won't get lost in the web of the internet. I'll put some links at the bottom for you.
perfect.
But yeah, Chris,
Okay.
thanks so much for your time today. It's been fascinating talking to you about audiobooks and hearing more about your story, getting into it as well. That was a brilliant connection that you've got with audiobooks, and it makes it all the more special, I think, when you've got someone's got that passion, that connection with it. So everyone, please check out Tall Tale TV. It's a brilliant YouTube channel and now podcast as well, and it's definitely going places. Yeah, Chris,
Awesome.
thank you once again.
Thank you. My pleasure. Hopefully
No
we'll be
problem.
back and see Justin next time.
Yeah, Justin skiving again. Justin will come back. Justin will return.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, everyone. See you later.